Do you wake up feeling as tired as when you went to bed? As soon as you open your eyes, desiring only to roll over and slip back into a peaceful slumber? And when you do get up, it feels like a cloud hangovers you throughout the day. You feel drained, unmotivated, on edge, and simply a cynical human being struggling to remain effective. You're burned out, my friend, and what you currently feel is only the tip of the iceberg. Hello and welcome to the No Hustle. I am your guide and companion, Turn Dog, and in today's video, we're looking at burnout. What it is, how to recognize it, and more importantly, how to overcome it. Now, the roots of burnout run deep. It affects your emotional, physical, and mental states. And it isn't an overnight sensation. It doesn't just happen. It's often a result of weeks, months, possibly even years of you not giving you what you need. And the symptoms are potentially long, leaving you feel drained, cynical, ineffective and unproductive, unmotivated, on edge and frustrated, feeling like you're always just on the verge of blowing up and losing your sanity. The causes of burnout can be many too. Maybe it's due to work overload, some kind of relationship or conflict, the feeling of not having enough control over your situation. But it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what we're going to go through in today's video. We're going to look at how you can recognize burnout before it takes control. We also will look at some ways on how to overcome burnout, even if it has started to wrap its ugly little fingers around you. But before we get to any of that, please make sure you subscribe to this channel for more anti-hustling advice. Like the video if it's something you feel you like. And indeed, leave a comment below with your biggest takeaway, lesson, or anything else that you would like to share with me and the community. With all that out of the way, let's dive on in. To start with, let's focus on something very important. Nobody is immune to burnout. It can affect anyone. I think to an extent, it impacts everyone. None of us are immune. It doesn't matter your class, your status, how much power or money or wealth you have acquired. Burnout is always just around the corner. And today's society plays a huge role of that because today's society is fast-paced, intense, and relentless. Hustle culture, well, you're in it. It's around you every single day. And a symptom of hustle culture is burnout as you try to keep up, as you try to do more, as you try to be more to more people. So don't think that burning out makes you weak. Don't think that just because you have certain foundations in place, you'll never feel it. You'll never succumb to it. Burnout is something that can affect all of us. I would say at some point in life, it does affect all of us. But we can prepare ourselves for it, and we can spot the symptoms before they begin to take control. So that's where we'll begin, shining a light on some of the core symptoms of burnout and how you can recognize them. First is chronic fatigue, definitely one of the biggest symptoms of burnout. And chronic fatigue isn't just a feeling of feeling tired. We can all deal with one or two rough nights of sleep. Chronic fatigue is much deeper than that. It's not just tired, but exhausted. And no matter how much rest you seem to get, it's never quite enough. You wake up the next morning still feeling like you need another night's sleep. You get to a Monday morning after taking a weekend off of work, yet you still feel like you're at level 9, ready to blow your top at any given moment. Chronic fatigue is the feeling that enough is never enough. It's not just physical exhaustion. In fact, you may not feel physically exhausted at all, but emotionally and mentally, you feel completely tapped out. The next one is insomnia. And when we talk about insomnia, we don't mean no sleep whatsoever. What we mean here is when you're struggling to get good sleep. Maybe it takes you 10, 15, 20 minutes, an hour to drift off at night as the thoughts race around your mind. Maybe there's just that anxious feeling as you go to bed and you don't feel quite capable to switch off. And then when you do sleep, you're waking up the next morning knowing you've not had a good night's sleep. Next on the list, irritability. If you're suffering with burnout, you can be sure your mood is swinging back and forth. Again, it feels like you're on edge always. The tiniest little thing is enough to just have you lose your mind, whether it results in crying, getting frustrated, getting angry, some form of intense emotion comes out. And it doesn't just build up. You don't seem to have patience to, keep it to one side. 1 minute you're fine, the next minute you're not. If your mood is swinging like that, you just feel irritable, on edge, chances are you're suffering a little bit of burnout. Another one, and this is especially true if burnout has dug its roots deep into you, is depression and anxiety. That low feeling, that sometimes hopeless feeling. This doesn't usually just happen. This is usually a byproduct of weeks, months, maybe even years of just grinding the gears, working harder and longer than you can, just not giving yourself enough time to switch off. Burnout in time leads to your mental health diluting to a point where you feel low, depressed, anxious. The last symptom we want to talk about here is decreased performance. Maybe you don't relate to anything else we've discussed so far. Maybe you're feeling okay. Maybe you're physically feeling fine, emotionally not particularly drained. For all intents and purposes, you are doing more than okay. But you've noticed your performance is going down. You're not quite as productive. You don't find that flow state as easily. The results aren't as good as they were a few weeks or months ago. A decrease in your performance is a sign of burnout because when you're burning out, you're doing too much. And when you're doing too much, you're not able to focus on what you need to focus on. Now, if you're experiencing any of these symptoms, please know that it's okay. Just because you might feel like you're experiencing all these symptoms doesn't mean you are a hopeless case and you are set to crumble. Again, burnout is something that impacts all of us to some extent. What matters is you taking the time right now to recognize your situation. So before we move further, let's just spend a few seconds reflecting on your situation. As you're listening to this right now, just allow your mind to wander a little. Hone in on what's hurting, what doesn't feel quite right, those symptoms we've just discussed and the ones that you can relate to. By recognizing them, by appreciating them, accepting them, being aware of them, you are doing what you need to do to take the next step. This brings us to the second part of the video, actually overcoming burnout, actually doing something about them. There are several strategies that we'll share here, and this is not an exhaustive list by any means. What matters is that you do you. Use what we're about to share as a guide. Use what works, discard the rest. The first strategy, and this is probably an obvious one, practice self-care. Every single day, you owe it to yourself to fill your own cup. Too often, we spend so much time trying to fill other people's cups, whether it's the kids, our partner, friends, family, customers, colleagues. We spend so much of our day worrying about what other people need. But it comes at the expense of what we need. You need to be selfish in order to be selfless. You first need to fill your cup before you can fill others. So you owe it to yourself to practice self-care every single day, filling your cup and nurturing your mind, your body, and your spirit. There are many ways that you can do that. Exercise is obviously an important one for the body, but also for the mind. Practicing some kind of mindfulness, whether it's meditation or journaling, integrating it with something physical like yoga, just allowing yourself to breathe a little bit, disconnect so you can properly reconnect with what's going on inside. Next one, and this is a video to be recorded in its own right, is to make sure you set boundaries. First of all, you need to have some boundaries for yourself, but you also need to set boundaries for other people. And these boundaries can come in many forms. The type of hours that you work, the workload that you take on, the amount of time you reserve for you, the amount of time you reserve for other people, what you deem as an appropriate request, whether it comes from a family member, someone you love, a work colleague, a customer. Your life is one. There is no work-life balance. There is just one whole life, and it's your job to integrate it. But the only way to properly integrate your life and to create a form of harmony is to set boundaries. You need to be clear on those boundaries personally, so you know what is and is not okay coming from you. But you need to also set boundaries for other people. And then you need to communicate them. You need to communicate with those people. You need to communicate with yourself. The third strategy is to delegate. And this doesn't only apply to your work. If you're burning out right now, it's more than likely because you're taking on too much. Now, if you are a business owner or if you are some kind of manager, delegating certain tasks is something you can likely do to an assistant, to someone else on your team, to just outsource it to an external party. We find it difficult to delegate because we get so used to doing things ourselves. And when we get caught up in burnout, we just get caught up in our own busyness. So we take on more and more and more. And the thought of shadowing someone else or teaching someone else how to do something that we feel only we can do becomes daunting. Yet the only way to reduce burnout is to share the load. You need to delegate. You need to stop doing all the things you're doing and start passing them over to other people. Fourth one is a big one. Seek support. You need to communicate with other people. You need to let other people into your world. Personally, I struggle with that. I'm a private individual. I like to insulate and figure things out on my own. I have to go for a walk and allow some ideas to marinate until I get clear on what is actually going on inside. But it's still important for me to allow other people in. Sometimes that needs to be a professional somebody. Therapy is not a bad thing. Seeking counselors is not bad. In the same way as sometimes we need a doctor to aid with our physical health, we need professionals to aid with our mental well-being, and we should not be ashamed. But sometimes we don't need professionals to help. Sometimes it's a case of just speaking to those we love. Friends, family members, partners, maybe even work colleagues and business people, mentors and coaches and the like. What's constant in all of this is to share the load. The final strategy to take here is to pursue a hobby or two. What that hobby is really doesn't matter. The point here is to just invite more joy into your life. If you're burning out, if you're feeling burned out, it's probably because you're spending too much of your time switched on to your work, switched on to all the responsibilities you have, dialed into your to-do list in an unhealthy way. Give yourself the permission to do so. Whatever that hobby may be, maybe it integrates with some of the other things we've talked about already. Something that will fill your own cup, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally. But maybe it will do none of those things. Maybe it is just something that isn't going to have a positive impact on your world or anyone else's, but it just brings you joy. That's enough. One of the biggest steps you can take to distance yourself from burnout is to lean into something you love. By implementing one or more of these strategies, you can overcome burnout. You can stop it from taking control. And if you realize that it has already taken control, it's not too late. But there's a big chance right now you want to gravitate to all those strategies. You want to lean into all these things you can do to overcome. I encourage you to hold back from that. The first step is to recognize on where you are, to hone in and get clear on your current situation, to develop an awareness of those symptoms and the ones that are very much a part of your world. So before you do anything else with your day after this video, just dedicate 5 minutes to reflect on a couple of questions I'm about to ask. Pick out a pen, write in your journal, a scrap of paper if you like. Just give yourself 5 minutes to think and reflect on the following. The first, chronic fatigue. Out of 10, how drained and tired are you right now? Not necessarily in the moment, but just in general, in this particular period of time. How drained and tired do you feel? Next is insomnia. Out of 10, how good is your sleep? Do you feel refreshed when you wake? Or do you feel like you could hit the pillow for another 5 or 6 hours? Next, irritability. Out of 10, how on edge and irritable are you at the moment? Does it take something minor to rally you up? Anxiety and depression. Again, out of 10, how motivated do you feel? Are you currently struggling to find joy in the things you do? Do you always feel switched on, that you can't quite ever switch off? And finally, decreased performance. Once more, out of 10, how good is your end game at the moment? Do you feel productive? Do you feel like you're producing the results you were in the past? Give yourself this gift of just 5 minutes to reflect on these symptoms and your current relationship with them. Once you get clear on your current state, you're able to implement 1 or 2 of those strategies and make a real difference. But until you get clear on where you are, anything you do likely won't have the impact it could. I hope you've taken a lot from this video. First of all, know you're not alone. I, like you, am a part of this hustle culture. It's around me all the time. The pressure, the guilt, the fear of missing out, the stacks of to-do lists and responsibilities, it's a lot. Know that just because you're suffering right now and you're feeling a little burned out, it doesn't make you weak or inadequate. It also doesn't mean that you're going to remain in this state always. You can escape. Indeed, you will escape. And if this video has spoken to you, please like it, give it a thumbs up, allow other people to find it. The YouTube algorithm, we are all at its mercy, and a simple like and thumbs up can make all the difference. Finally, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and indeed to the No Hustle Huddle newsletter, where we send weekly anti-hustling tips direct to your inbox for free. Thank you so much for watching today, but more important, thank you for being you.